Welcome to the final chapter of this course. So far, we have talked about how to create your image, how to make variations of it, how to upscale it, how to use text prompts and image prompts, how to use the editor tool. Now we're going to talk about how to adjust the prompt settings. First, you open the settings menu by clicking on the icon here on the right side of your image bar. You'll notice 4 submenus here: image size, aesthetic, model, and more options. First, to start with the image size. This sets the aspect ratio of whatever you're going to generate. So by default, it's a square, it's a 1:1 aspect ratio. I could either set it as a portrait or landscape, or I could drag the bar here to set a different aspect ratio. Now, when I close the settings menu, this will become the new default for me for all the new images that I'm going to generate, until I open the settings menu again and change it from here. So now I am going to type in house in the forest, and I will get 16:9 results. Another way that you can choose an aspect ratio is by adding it as a parameter at the end of your prompt. And to do so, I'm going to type in a prompt, and I will say this time house on the beach. And I will add my aspect ratio parameter at the very end of my prompt. To add it, I will type in 2 dashes, followed by AR, then space, then the aspect ratio that I want. So I will say 9:16. And now the images that I generate will come out as 9:16, and this aspect ratio will only apply to this specific prompt. And now these are the images that I got in a 9:16 ratio. And this parameter can apply anywhere. So let's say I am back in my Explore page and I am browsing around the different images to search for inspiration. Let's say I come across this image that I like, and I'm going to use the prompt that was used over here. Now, when I look at the very end of the prompt and I see --AR 3:4, I know that the aspect ratio of this image is 3:4. I can change it to whatever aspect ratio I want. Let's say I'm going to change it to 16:9. And we will discuss style and version in a bit. So now these are the images that I get using that same prompt that I liked, but with my new aspect ratio. Back to the settings menu. Now we're going to look at model. And first of all, under model, you have mode, which has 2 options, standard and raw. Now by default, Midjourney is hardwired to create very aesthetic images, which at times can make it challenging to create more realistic results. Choosing raw mode can help you achieve more cinematic or more realistic results versus the more aesthetic results in Midjourney standard mode. And to see the difference, we're going to compare the photo of a man crossing the street. First of all under the standard mode and then under the raw mode. Under the standard mode, I get those more aesthetic results. Whereas with style raw, I can get more photorealistic images. Whatever mode I select here would become my default, or I could add raw mode as a parameter at the end of my prompt by putting in 2 style space raw. Now we talk about version. Journey always releases new versions that produce more coherent results. However, many users find that older versions might be better at producing a certain type of art. Each version has its own unique style. Your safest bet is to always go with the latest version. However, it would be fun to try out the different versions, especially using the same prompt to see what different results you might get. So I will use the same prompt of dog sleeping next to house to compare the latest 3 versions, 6.1, 6, and 5.2. These are the 4 results I got with the latest version 6.1. These are the results that I got with version 6. And these are the results that I got with version 5.2. I usually keep mine at the latest version. There is one more version which is an Easter egg that I'm going to give in this course, which is the Niji version. Niji allows you to create images in anime style. You will not find the Niji version here in the settings menu. You have to add it as a parameter at the end. And to add it, you type in 2 dashes Niji. So if I go with the same prompt of dog sleeping next to house, and I add the Niji parameter at the end, I will get 4 versions of this prompt in anime style. I cover a deeper dive of the versions and other advanced parameters in another advanced Midjourney course. Let's look at aesthetics and speed. Under aesthetics, you have 3 bars that you can control: stylization, weirdness, and chaos. Stylization is how strongly you will allow Midjourney to apply its aesthetics, how creative you will allow it to be with its arts. The higher the stylization, the more artistic the results that you will get. However, the less likely they are to be accurate to your prompts. And the inverse is true. Lower stylization lets Midjourney focus more on your prompt with potentially less artistic results. Stylization can go anywhere from 0 to 1000, and the default is set at 100. You can always click on the reset button here to reset everything back to the default. Weirdness set how quirky or how crazy your results will come out. By default, weirdness is set at 0. The higher I set it, the more unexpected the results will be. So if I take it up to 3000, which is the maximum, and then I type in again my prompt, house in the forest, I will start to get results like these, which are crazier in their approach than the safe aesthetic images that I was getting when I had the weirdness set at 0. With variety, you can set how varied your 4 results would be. So with low variety, they will come out more or less with the same direction or following more or less the same artistic approach. A higher variety will give you more varied results. So if I set variety at the max and use my same prompt of house in the forest, I will get results that follow completely different approaches from one another. Whereas you can see one looks like a photo, one looks like an isometric 3D model, one looks like a painting, one looks like a drawing, and one is the surreal image. High variety is great when you want the ultimate brainstorm. When you really don't know which direction that you want to take, you just want to explore as much as possible. And then the more you want to zoom in on a specific result, the lower the variety you want, and the lower the stylization you want. Speed controls the speed of your image generations. As you generate image, you are using your credits, which eventually run out. The default speed is set as fast. If you have the standard subscription upwards, you can use the relax mode, which allows you to generate unlimited results at a slower speed of generation. Turbo is the opposite. Turbo produces images at higher speeds, but uses more of your credits. I like to keep it as a default fast. Finally, let's talk about personalization. Personalization lets you train Midjourney on what you like. Before using personalized results, you have to teach Midjourney what you like. To do that, you click on Unlock Personalization. This will take you to the personalized page. Over here, you can click on Start Teaching to begin showing Midjourney what you might like more. And this happens by comparing 2 images. Midjourney will always give you a selection of 2 images, and you click on the one that you like more. If you don't like either of the 2 images in specific, you can click on Skip. And after you do 200 comparisons, you will be able to unlock personalization. With personalization on, Midjourney will produce results that are similar to your tastes. With personalization off, you'll get broader results. And that concludes our final chapter of this course. I'm happy to have been part of this journey together, and I look forward to see what you will come up with.